Hello guys, welcome back to Android Volley tutorial. Today we are going to learn about how to make a simple image request using Volley. So here I use a local host. Here I use WAMP server. So here is an image. So now I copy this image. Now go to the installation folder of WAMP server. Go to C drive. And here is the installation folder of WAMP server. Go to the root directory of WAMP server and paste that image here. Okay. Now we are going to create an Android application that download this image and display this image on an image view. So now the WAMP server is running. Now open Android Studio and create a new Android project. So the first thing, you need to add an internet permission in your Android manifest.xml because you need to download an image from a remote server. So you have to add the internet permission. So here we are going to download the image using Volley library. So you have to add the needed dependency inside the Gradle script file. Here is the dependency for using Volley. Okay, now we can prepare the GUI of the application. So open activity main.xml. So first here I am going to add an image view. Specify the width as match parent, height into 400 dp. Now specify an ID for this image view. Specify the ID as img. Now here I am going to add a button. Specify the width as match parent, height into wrap content. Specify some text on it. Get image from server. Now specify an ID for the button. I name it as BN. Okay, now the GUI is ready. Also we need some margin at the top side. Android layout margin top into 15 dp. Okay. Now go to main activity.java. First you have to create some variables. Create some variables for button. Create some variable for image view. I name it as image view. So here I'm going to test this application on a Genymotion virtual device. To access the local host, we need the IP address of this computer. So open command prompt and type ipconfig. From here you have to find out the IPv4 address. So here is my IPv4 address. So now create a URL for the server. So string server URL HTTP. Now specify the IP address 56.1. Now specify the image name. So we have to find out the image name. Here the image name is android.png. Okay, so before going to use this URL, we can check this URL. So copy this URL, open your browser and put it on the address bar. It is not 62, it is 68. Okay, copy this again. Go to browser. Okay, this is the response from server. Okay, now the URL is working fine. So now we can initialize these two variables, button and image view. So first initialize button. typecast that one into button. Now find it. BN. Now initialize the image view. Typecast that one into image view. Now find it. Now specify a click listener for the button. So button dot set on click listener. So here we have to create an image request and pass that image request to the request queue. So when user click the button, we have to create the image request. So start an image request. Name it as image request equal to new image request. First argument is the URL. Second argument is the response listener. Okay. Now next arguments are the maximum width and maximum height. So here I use 0 for maximum width and maximum height. So if you use 0 for maximum width and height, it will display the exact size of the image. Okay. Now the next argument, you have to specify the scale type. So here I'm going to use the scale type center crop. Now you have to specify the decoding format. So here we are not going to use any decoding format. So you can simply pass null for it. And the final argument is the error listener. Okay, so now we create the image request. So we get the response within this method called onResponse, and here is an argument. It is an object of bitmap. So now we can set the response on the image view. So image view dot set image bitmap and set the response from server. Okay, so if there is an error occur, we can display a toast. Main activity dot this. Now display message. Something went wrong. Now specify the duration of toast and display it. And for debugging purpose, we can print the error stack trace. So error dot print stack trace. Okay, so now the image request is ready. Now we can add this image request to the request queue. So now we have to create a request queue. So here I am going to use the singleton pattern for creating the request queue. So right click the package and create a new Java class. Specify the class name as mySingleton. Now declare some variables. Private static mySingleton m instance. Now we have to create some variables for request queue. Now we need a variable for context. Private static context. I name it as mctx. Now we have to create a method for get the request queue. So public, public. Here the return type is request queue, and the method name is get the request queue. So if request queue equal to null, put it in an if loop. If request queue equal to null, in that case we have to initialize the request queue. So request queue equal to volley dot new request queue and pass the context. So mctx.getApplicationContext. You have to use the getApplicationContext to ensure that the instance of the request queue lasts the lifetime of your application. And finally, you have to return the request queue from this method. Okay, now we need to create a constructor for this class. Private my singleton, and for this constructor we need some argument. It's a context argument. Now we need to initialize the context variable mctx equal to context. Okay, and from this constructor we have to initialize the request queue. So request queue equal to, and call the method called the get request queue. Okay, now we need to create another method for get an instance of this class. So public static is a synchronized method, and the return type of this method an instance of this class. So my singleton, and the method name is get instance. And for this method we need one argument. It's a context variable. So here we have to check if it is already initialized or not. If minstance equal to null, in that case we have to initialize that variable. So minstance equal to new my singleton and pass the context argument. And finally we have to return the instance from this method. So return minstance. Okay, now we need to create another method for add the request to the request queue. So public void add it to request queue, and for this method we need one argument. It is a variable for request. And finally we need to add this request to the request queue. So request queue dot add and pass the request. Okay, now the singleton class is ready. Now go to main activity.java. So now we create an image request. Now we need to add this image request to the request queue. So my singleton dot get instance main activity.this and call the method add it to request queue and pass the image request. Okay, now we finish the coding. Now we can test the application. Run the application, select a virtual device. Here I use a Genymotion virtual device. Okay, now the application available on this virtual device. So now we are going to get the image from server. This is how we make a simple image request using Volley. I hope you understand the concepts. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.